Alright, hello guys. Today we're doing a very short episode around how you can train yourself to walk slowly up hills. Now, this is inspired by a really interesting message I received the other day. And a lady was reaching out to me and she was basically saying, look, I'm getting into my hiking, I'm getting into my big adventures. But do you have any particular tips that will help me learn to walk slowly up a hill? Because she said her usual approach to going up hills has always been to power up them as fast as they can so she doesn't lose any momentum. But then she realized over multiple days of trekking or up at high altitude, this approach particularly wouldn't be so amazing and it might lead her to exhaustion, it might lead her to fatigue, and she was looking at how she could train herself to just be a little bit slower going up hills. And this does go off the topic that I've talked about a few times on this podcast before, is when you are in this situation where you're getting super huffed and puffed and super fatigued in certain parts on the trail, whether it's on a rough section of trail, whether it's going up a hill, going up a set of stairs or whatever. If you are in this situation and you are huffing and puffing, you're working in what's known as the anaerobic energy system, which basically means you're producing energy without using oxygen as a fuel source. And the issue with using this energy system while you're on the trail is it basically just churns through your stored glycogen and your stored carbohydrates very, very quickly. And your body can only really hold on to a certain amount of stored carbohydrates at a time, and it's only really a relatively small amount at a time. So if you're constantly on the trail, huffing and puffing, working on this anaerobic energy systems, burning through your glycogen, you're more likely going to be reaching that point of fatigue, reaching that point of exhaustion, and potentially reaching that point of bonking, which is basically known as when you completely deplete your muscle glycogen and you feel absolutely terrible. So learning how to walk at a steady pace when you're going up hills so you don't have to rely on purely just powering up and using that momentum to get you through is a very, very useful tactic. And so today I just want to explain a little method that I shared with this lady who reached out to me, which might help you in this situation as well. Now, the reason why this is a relatively common thing because it does happen to me. I am one of those people who like to just charge up hills and get them done. That's always how I've liked to hike. And there have been clients in the past who've been in this situation as well. So if you are trying to teach yourself to go a little bit slower, this is the simplest method you can go about it. What you want to do is you want to find a relatively steepish hill in your local neighborhood. It doesn't have to be outrageously steep, but something with a bit of an incline and something that's going to take you probably about 2 minutes or more to climb. And then what you want to do is you want to climb this hill and just keep your mouth closed. And so you have to be able to breathe through your nose. And then you want to climb all the way up to the hill at this pace and then go back down the bottom and repeat maybe 2 to 6 times. Now, the intention behind this is when you can comfortably breathe through your nose, that is automatically going to force you to be using your aerobic energy systems, which is a little bit more efficient and a little bit more efficient on long-term energy system. And if you are breathing through your nose, you're never going to really get to that point where you're absolutely huffing and puffing and you're going to go into those anaerobic energy systems. It's a really, really simple way of judging intensity without having to worry about heart rates or training zones or anything like that. So basically teaching yourself to stay at this pace where you'll purely be able to breathe through your nose is a really, really effective tool. Now, for many people particularly who struggle to go slow on hills and like to charge up it, this might be a bit of a struggle. It might be really frustrating. You might be feeling like you're going at an absolute snail's pace. But like anything, it's sort of practice makes perfect. The first time you do it, it might absolutely be terrible. The second time you do it, it might be a little bit more comfortable. And after 3 or 4 or 5 times doing it, you might actually be able to, maintain this pace where you can breathe through your nose, where you can slow yourself down. Now, for some people as well, this might even involve periods of you might walk 10 steps and then have to pause for a few breaths, and then walk 10 steps and pause a few breaths. If it's really, really a struggle for you, you might have to do that. But it's really, really just teaching you mentally to be able to maintain this pace, to pull things back so you can maintain this over the long term, and it is a very, very valuable skill to learn. Now, if you are in a situation where you give this a go, and say you always rush up hills, you always get huffed and puffed, and you take this skill and you try to practice it, but you find even after doing it a few times, it's just impossible. It's absolutely impossible for you to walk up a hill while keeping your mouth closed. That's basically a really, really big indicator that you need to be working on your aerobic training a little bit more. It's basically an indicator that your aerobic energy system is just not efficient enough, it's not developed enough, and then no matter what type of pace you do, when you hit that type of intensity, you're going to struggle. So in this situation, that's when you have to start thinking, what am I doing during my week to help develop my aerobic system? Am I doing anything specific at the moment? If I am doing something specific at the moment and I'm still in this situation, I might need to change up my training a little bit. I might need to do a little bit extra structured training or something like that. Alternatively, if you're doing absolutely nothing and you're really, really struggling in this situation, it might be as simple as just fitting in a cardio session through the week, once a week or twice a week, and that'll make the difference. So in that situation where you have tried this technique out and it's absolutely impossible, that's a really big indicator that you need to be doing some more work. So that's probably enough about this subject from me today, guys. It is a really, really simple technique, but it can be very, very handy for your long-term hiking performance and just teaching yourself to maintain that efficient pace. So when you are hitting those tough sections on the trail, whether it's stairs, whether it's hills, whether it's an uneven section, you are doing it at the best pace to stay most efficient. So over your longer hikes, your longer treks, or when you're up at high altitude, you're not overly exerting yourself, you're not churning through your energy stores, and you can just go for hours and hours and hours. So if you do struggle with this, I highly recommend this week giving that a go, having a play with it, and seeing how it works. So I really hope you've enjoyed this episode today, guys. Just a short one on a very, very specific point, but I'm sure there's plenty of people listening who'll get some pretty decent value out of that. If you did have any questions about this, please always reach out to me. I'm always happy to answer questions. And if you have enjoyed it, as always, I would love if you could leave a review. But that's enough from me today, guys. Have a lovely day, and we'll talk to you very soon.